everyone, it's Jan the Hedge Mystic. I'd like to take you on a little flip through of a recent art journal that I created. It's the Bee Journal. It celebrates the bees and the pollinators in my native plant garden, something that is near and dear to my heart. So let's take a look and see how my experiences in the garden translated into an art journal. So the cover is made from a 12 by 12 sheet of scrapbooking paper. I set some eyelets for the 3-hole pamphlet stitch that binds it all together. And if we open up, we can see that when you make the cover out of the 12 by 12 paper, you get a pocket in the front and you get a pocket in the back. So that's really nice to begin with. I have this beautiful card here, butterflies, botanicals, some transfer stickers. The back is blank, and I could journal there if I wanted to. I don't do a lot of writing in my journals. I prefer to explore whatever I'm exploring visually. And here I have some cards, sort of a dreamlike state, a sun and moon dreamlike state, and that's often how I feel, sort of lulled to sleep by the droning of the bees in the garden. And then there is the bee and the bear. Bear is an animal that I work with a lot symbolically, and bees and bears have an interesting relationship around honey, something that is also worth exploring. Here I have this little bit of text that says soul art that came from a piece of paper that was a fabrication, a reproduction of vintage advertisements. I think this one was for artist easels, and the name of the company was Soul Art, but with an E on the end, but I really love that because soul art is really what I'm all about and what I do. So I thought that was great. This journal is filled with a lot of collage work. There isn't so many interactive elements, and there isn't a lot of written journaling at all, but it's all about the visual exploration of the things that I interact with in my garden. Dragonflies for one, moths for another. This says use your wings, and I love that thought. The golden key and the bee maiden. The bee symbolism is long and deep over the course of many millennia, so bees and goddesses go together. And on this page, there's a little bookmark that comes out. Again, I could write on that if I wanted to in a white pen or a silver pen or a gold pen. That would look great. In a little pocket here. And I have these really interesting illustrations from a book that are sort of scientific and electronic. And I have that because in my garden this year, I am playing around with something called electroculture. And if you know what that is, you know what that is. It's related to Nikola Tesla's idea that you can draw ambient energy from the atmosphere down into the ground, and it's very good for plants. So that's something I've been experimenting with here, and this page reminds me of that. Next page is just a beautiful collage with strawberries, which are great at this season of the year. I don't grow them anymore because the chipmunks eat them all, but I do love strawberries, especially at this time of year. Something you're going to see me do a lot is use frames, and I love to use frames over collage work because it helps to emphasize and draw the eye to certain elements. So I really like using that. And then here I've used some eyelets, some little round eyelets in a way to sort of join together 3 other circular elements. So I really like that. I love this illustration of sort of the bee woman. And then it says pollen here. And I love the idea of pollen, of pollination, of cross-pollination, not just in the garden, but cross-pollination of ideas in creative work. So I really like that as a word. And I've got a tag here, pure honey, with old book pages on the back, and I stitched around. And then there's a beautiful bee illustration here with bees on the back. And then this tiny little one here. And then on the back of that, there's a little beehive stamp. And then I picked up on this theme of little cottages and houses over here. And again, a frame around that. And then here, there's all sorts of wonderful textured fabrics and bits of textile that I really, really liked. Here I've done some stitching in my collage work, and I've done some stitching here. Do that with the sewing machine, and then 3 words: wander, wonder, repeat. And I repeated those around here as a border. And oftentimes the extent of my journaling, my written journaling, is a few words or a phrase or 2. See the details, and that's very true. I spend a lot of time in my gardens observing the very small things. This is a beautiful illustration from a bird identification book from the early part of the 20th century. I think maybe like 1905 or 1909 or something like that, that I picked up at a flea market a very long time ago. And then there's this that opens up. There's another one of those bird illustrations, and they line up right next to each other. And inside here, again, I used a frame. And there's bee and honeycomb stenciled on the back. Again, this could be a card for written journaling if that's what you like to do. This page is really a fun page. It was a lot of scraps of things I made with the jelly plate and had stamped, and I glued them together in a random way and then stitched and then put a belly band in, and I have this beautiful tag here, slides in and creates another layer. This is the queen bee, and the archetype of the queen is an interesting archetype that I like to explore in different ways, and she shows up here. Here's a great example of a very busy collage brought together by the addition of a frame. So all of these busy papers in the back are kind of settled down and brought together by the addition of a frame. And then we have Seek the Good. Here we have a little bookmark and a little bit of bee ephemera here with some beautiful distressed paper on the back that fit into a little pocket. And then we can open up the envelope, and inside the envelope is this little picture of a beekeeper. And I love that idea about a beekeeper. I'm not a beekeeper, but I'm a bee tender, and I do work very hard to create habitat in my gardens for bees. So in that way, I am something like a keeper for them. And then here, there's a beautiful card. It says honeybee with stamping and stenciling. Again, this could be a journal card if you like to do a lot of writing. I don't. This is a lovely little interactive element. There's a little sunflower stamp and a little ribbon that you can grab onto, and then you can open up and have these beautiful bits of vintage ephemera. I just love these. These speak to me of a bygone era when life was a lot simpler and a lot slower, and we were a lot more in tune with the natural rhythms and cycles of the seasons. So we've got more collage, creating a frame with washi tape, a very simple thing to do. And here we have some more tags with chrysanthemums, beautiful vintage botanical illustrations, and more chrysanthemums, which will be blooming maybe in another month. And then this beautiful card, I really loved the way these colors matched up with the honeycomb on that paper. So I think that looks really good together. And I have these great bee paper clips. So I really loved that. All of these are things that I see and interact with in my garden, with maybe the exception of that, but certainly the grasshopper and the ladybug and the dragonfly and the other kinds of beetles are all very familiar to me, and I want to remember them in my journal. I've dated it July 2024 so that when I look back, I can remember when this was made. I have a bunny, several now in my garden. I love them. They do eat things though, but I'm happy to share. So here I have a beautiful envelope. On the back, we see a reference to the bear again and the interesting relationship that bears and bees have around honey. And if you open this up, I lined it with paper. And if we take out what's in here, we have two beautiful little pieces of bee art. And on the back, there's text and then there's bee paper, all part of the theme. And they slip right back in. That closes. I stenciled the honeycomb pattern there. And then here, as a final thought, I have a little tag that says, so fulfilling. And that is how I feel, both about my garden and about working creatively to celebrate and reflect on what it means to be in relationship with bees and other pollinators and plants and flowers and wildlife like rabbits in my garden. So this is a way for me to extend my experience with them and reflect on what that means to me and how fulfilling and how much joy it brings to me. So I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that you will try creating a journal that documents your own experiences in your garden or with the nature that's right in your own backyard.